Another journey, and today's journey is a guest who served 4,267 clients and counting to help them heal from chronic pain, symptoms, and disease, and transform their lives in the US and Europe for 28 years. He's also a number one Amazon best-selling author. He's a chiropractic physician, quantum neurologist, and mind and body expert. He has provided 61,104 private sessions and counting, and he's even had his own radio show for 4 years on FM radio. I say no more because it's Dr. Salas to the journey.
Hi, David. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Now, that bio was a very brief, concise, accurate bio, which I love. People's questions are going to be asking, tell us more. Tell us what started your journey. So tell us what started your journey.
Well, first of all, David, you may notice a very tiny accent, right?
Y-
So obviously, I was not born in the US, right?
You
And I
was
used
born
to,
in, you was born in, and the way it's spelled like you're from France.
yes, exactly. And I used to live on my boat, on my sailing boat in south of France, and also used to run boat in south of France, right? So I did like for like 7 years. So basically, they used to call me the gypsy, David. I had long hair, I have a hearing, and
That's a
actually,
long.
here we go. I don't see the hearing though.
No.
But anyway, and so yeah, and the Gypsy King. I don't know if you have heard of them. It's a band. They are from this area where I used to run boat, right? And so
Mm,
I was perfect. I was feeding perfectly, right? And so I had lots of fun. I started my own business. I was less than 23 years old, right?
mm,
And so I was living, my passion. I love boats and all that stuff because of the freedom. I was looking for adventure and freedom, if you want, right? And so, sure enough, I was working maybe 7, 8 months a year maximum, really. And after either I was selling or I was buying a airfare to go to the South Hemisphere to chase. I was like a sun chaser in a way, right? I didn't know what was snow, all that bad weather for almost a decade, really, truly.
mm.
And so I was enjoying my life and party all the time. And what happened, like I would say the last year when I was involved with boating, um, I had like a kind of calling. I don't know how to describe that, but it's kind of myself helping people and in the with a healing heart. And so nobody was in the healing heart in my family, right? And there's no doctor, no nurse, no massage therapist, no nothing. And so I started to ask my client, right? Because I was feeling like there was a wall and I needed to open a door to go on the other side, right?
Yeah.
So what happened? One of my client told me, "Hey, you know what, Alan? I've got like a Chinese doctor is going to come to visit me, for the weekend. Why don't you talk to him? I will invite you." I say, "Heck yes, I want to talk to that guy, right?" And so what happened? We talk, right? And he gave me 3 books to read. And the first book was the Tao Taking, which is basically a Chinese, pretty deep philosophical book. The other one was called the Hara, Hara, which is a pretty deep Japanese philosophical book. When they kill themselves, traditionally, they will get a knife and go at the Hara point, which is just below the belly bottom, right? To kill
Mm,
themselves because it's the center of gravity of a human being, right? And
mm,
there's an entire philosophy after that, right? So
mm,
anyway, so read this book, and there was another book about more acupuncture, the man between the earth and the sky. So I read all those books, and when the season was over, I went to see him. Naturally, we start to talk about, Chinese medicine, and he said, his name was Philip. Philip told me, you know what, if you want to do like me and really know what you're doing, you need to go to China, learn Chinese, study ancient text, and that's it. So I said, how long will it take? And because I was not against, traveling, I love to travel. And he told me, wait, 10 years. I was 30 years old at that time. I said, Philip, I want to practice one day, right? So he just told me, why not? You look strong. I always remember, you look strong. why not chiropractic? And I said, what's that? And so he gave me some information and contact with some French people that went to the US to study chiropractic. And sure enough, I got some information from the school. And one of my best friends did the translation, right? And what was really unique, what was super attractive to me, David, was the concept of the innate intelligence, your own ability to heal yourself, and was fascinating. And sure enough, the following winter, after when the season was done, I went and with a backpack and you know and met a French woman that really helped me, to get going, give me my first treatment, and I decided to do it. So I just sold my boat business,
Mm.
and went to the US. And I told my parents, so imagine the gypsy, right, with the long hair, and say, oh, by the way, I'm going to America to become a doctor. What? So the laugh went for quite a bit, but they didn't understand, and I probably didn't tell them enough that I was so blessed to know what I was supposed to do with my life, right? And that
Mm.
that mission was given to me, right? And that was my journey, right? My
Mm.
journey has given to me, right? I mean, what else can you ask for, right?
Yeah.
So I felt really blessed and lucky, David.
Yeah, that is
And
it's a blessing because when you know a certain thing in your life and it's your own destiny, you go for
exactly,
it.
yeah, you cannot not go for it.
Yeah.
Because when you know, and if you don't even try it, it just doesn't, it never came to my mind, because I know I had to try it no matter what. My dad showed me, oh, I'll see you in 6 months, right? Things like that. It takes 4 years to become a chiropractor. But anyway, so I understand, I mean, partying all the time, and now, so I have to confess, my brain was kind of rusty, we all that lifestyle, but I made it, and you have to understand also, when I first came to New York, I landed in New York, spent a week there. There was like so many more TV channel than in France, right? So I was like, zapping all the channel. I ended be stuck in the Spanish channel because that's the one I could understand the best. I say, oh boy, man, we're in trouble. But anyway, I did it. There was no choice. In my book, there was no choice. I either live, survive this or die, right? Kind of things, But with, humor and happiness, right? Which is
Yeah.
actually the personality that I've got. I don't take myself seriously, neither life too seriously, right?
Mm.
And so basically, I made it, right? Actually, I graduated earlier. That's the irony. And I did a preceptorship with another doctor, and I started to do that chiropractic things, right? I met also my wife, my first wife, that is basically was French, right? And we met in a bar in Kansas City, right? That's where I ending up, Kansas City, Missouri, US, right? And we have a daughter, Maya, right? And started to do that chiropractic things. And what happened, David, is like people will get better, but pretty fast they will plateau. And just to maintain their gain, their plateau, right, to keep the plateau going, they have to come to see me. And so there's something not right there, right? So
Mm.
I know like few things in life for sure, right? And one of them is this. David, when you've got a problem, in order to resolve permanently the problem, meaning there's no more problem, you don't even think about it, like you're done, you're moving on, right? You need to know two things. If you know those two things, you're good. Problem solved. Number one, you need to know what's causing your problem, right? If you don't know
Yeah.
what's causing your problem, how can you fix it, right? And number two, you need to know how to fix it.
Mm.
So I thought about chiropractic, maybe that's not really the cause of all the problem, right? Like we're being told, right? And maybe that's not also the perfect tool to fix it. So I started to inquire about that, and I realized that we actually we are susceptible to physical stress, right? Chemical stress, which is inflammation, basically, and also mental and emotional stress, right? And so I don't think chiropractic was doing that all the time, right? Because when you treat somebody physically and you've got an emotional response, right, that's
Mm.
still not an emotional treatment
Mm.
because you didn't find out what's causing the emotional problem. The emotional problem doesn't come from the physical, it comes from the mind.
Yeah.
And I started to be intrigued with that. And I said, okay, why not investigate the inflammation in the body, right? Because lots of my patients were complaining about joint pain and things like that. So I said, let's investigate that. And so you come back, for example, you say, well, I've got some, my gut, is bloated or whatever. I've got some low back pain. And so you will come and I will do muscle response testing, which is basically your body telling me what's wrong, right? Which organs are under stress.
Mm.
And after what's causing the stress, again, what's causing the stress, right? And I got pretty good at that. And actually, I made a practice out of it. And I used to have 4 employees and seeing 250 patients a week, right? So I was living, man, I was living the American, what we call the American dream, right? That
Yeah.
gypsy French guy, in America with now tie, and short hair. I had to for the school, otherwise they won't give me the credit, right? And so, anyway, so I thought, I made it, man. That's it. But you know what I've learned in life? When you think you made it, right, and your destiny is much bigger than you even think of yourself,
Mm-mm.
right? Life will say, wait a minute, hold on, time out here. And that's truly what happened. So because I was so busy all the time and my mind was so preoccupied with a business and I thought I was doing the right thing, right? I was living my mission, helping so many people, right? But here's the problem: I was totally unbalanced, right? And so what happened when I was after working, during the day, I was coming back home and I was there, but I was not present, right? So even for my daughter, I have to say that and confess that to you. I hate to say that, but that's the truth. And so what happened, of course, my wife, didn't like it too much, right? And so what happened, I ending up within a year. That's all what happened to me, David. I ended up divorcing, right?
Mm.
Which I understand, right? And after number two, because after I got depressed and I even lost my passion for, helping people, which it's unbelievable for me to say that. And I got totally burned out, right? And so
Mm.
I ended up being by myself in that office, right? Because my business went from thriving to failing, right?
Mm.
And the cherry on the cake, I got diagnosed with early stage of colon cancer. So here I am recommending you to avoid, what to do to avoid, all those big diseases that create a ton of inflammation and can kill you, quite frankly, right? And I got diagnosed with the same things that, I try to prevent with my patient. And I was doing obviously my own program. So I have to rethink everything about myself. I have to rethink about my health, my work, my job, right, as a doctor. I have to rethink about my relationship, obviously, and my prosperity, right?
Mm.
And so I felt like, I knew intuitively because I think I'm very creative and intuitive, always have some insight of life, like when I saw myself helping people, right? And so I knew that there was something deep inside of me that was pushing me to sabotage myself, sabotage my health, sabotage my relationship, and sabotage my business, right? And so I knew that I couldn't be a victim. I knew I had responsibility within that. I couldn't blame my wife, only my wife, for, it takes two to tango, right? But I couldn't blame my wife only for the divorce. I couldn't blame the circumstances for my business failure. I couldn't be a victim mode, right?
Yeah.
I knew that there was something deep inside of me, and quite frankly, when everything started, right, for me, like, to investigate, okay, what was it? And also I have to say I'm blessed because I always wanted to help people. So I knew through my healing, my patient will benefit from the knowledge and whatever, help me to heal, they will benefit from my experience.
Yeah. And just, how you've gone through a lot. People often say it's a difficult thing, but unless you can say, I've been there, like depression, people are depressed, but people are depressed in different ways. Unless you can totally understand it, no one will understand what's going on with you. So saying you was failing in your business, failing because you had the diagnosis, everything. No one can say, I totally understand because they weren't in your shoes. They didn't understand because if they've had it different than you.
Yeah, but for me, I understand what you're saying, but for me, the most important is just to go within. But I
Mm,
couldn't care less about what other people thought about it. I mean, even my wife, I was done and I moved out. And actually, I lived in my office. The gypsy soul came back to me and I said, oh, I'm going to spend, I mean, it was a nice office, a treatment room. I'm beautiful. I installed a shower. I had everything. I'm not complaining, right? But I said, I'm going to stay like 6 months, right? 3 years later, I was still there, right? So that's how long it took, from my journey. I never. The only thing I will complain will be, please God, how long is going to take, But I never complain about why me and all that because you know what, my dad was like this. You know what happened? My dad was. He was very negative person, right? And very controlling. So, I mean, of course, I wanted to. What is the symbol of freedom, right? A boat, right?
mm,
So of course I wanted to have a boat and be free and live adventure, right? Please, leave me alone. Let me live my life, right? But what I've seen with my dad, what he taught me what not to do, basically, which is very precious, right? Because he was so negative, he became sick, right? And at 40 years old, he was on disability and never came back,
mm,
right? Never came back to the workplace, if I can say that, right? And so why? It's because, the problem is like when people are calling you and say, oh, Jean, how you doing? Meaning how your disease is doing. He was literally puking life. He was puking after every meal, right? Couldn't hold anything. He was like a skeleton like that. And
mm,
so they were calling him to see how his disease. So after, of course, after you identify yourself with a disease, right? So you subconsciously, and we're going to talk about the subconscious here, I'm sure. So subconsciously, you make the program was, well, if I'm sick and stay sick, I will get the attention and the love and the call from people, right? So
mm,
why change it? Right. That's the danger because I treat very sick people and specialize in long-term pain and stress and chronic disease. And the main things you have to do is to get out of that cycle, right? And to that victim mode, right? And so because we are designed at conception to be creator, we're not designed to be victim, which is the opposite. Does it make sense?
yeah, it does. It's just, you know, playing victim. That's how I address it because I've seen it a lot in people. Playing victim. It is good to get the sympathy, but I feel like when you play the victim, unless you've got a genuine reason, it's always played upon more and people use it more. I'm not saying you use it more because you genuinely did it, you lived it, you've been through it. But, say for example, you come across a person on the street, they could have a totally different background than me or you. And because they don't know you, they like to say, oh, this is a new person. And they will exploit it more because they will, until you get used to it. Like I knew a person many years ago, they were genuinely, in my eyes, when I first met them, ill because they kept collapsing. They took advantage of my soft nature. And every time something kept going wrong, they collapsed. They went to the hospital. The doctor said, okay, this is what's wrong with you, you know, whatever. It took me 3, 4 years to actually understand that person wasn't genuinely ill. And you've heard of the term, I forgot the term they use now, but back in the day it was known as Munchausen's.
What's that? Can you repeat again?
Munchausen's.
What's that?
It's basically a fixatious disorder which makes the person think they got psychologically something wrong with them. So they go to the doctor to get medical advice and to get medical support and get medical diagnoses. And they kept doing that. And do you know what made me stop and realize I can't help them? They don't need my support anymore. When their physical doctor, who was supposed to be the doctor to help them, told me, stop being their nurse.
Well, that's why we talk about tough love, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's what is required. But I have to say also, when you investigate the mind and how the mind is working, I clearly understand that there's limiting belief or program in their subconscious mind. So if you allowed me to explain that a little bit.
You can.
So here we go. So we all have here about, or heard, I'm sorry, about what we call the mind-body connection, right?
Mm.
And so when I started to get sick, I just say, okay, well, I know physically how to help people, right, or myself. I know more or less, I'm not saying I know it all, right? But
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And the chemical stress, though. So now, what about the emotion and the mental? So I started to let's deep into the mind, and what I found is really literally mind blowing, right? Because when we talk about the mind, most of the time we don't know what we're talking about,
Mm.
and we talk a little bit of a fraction of the mind.
Yeah, because mine's so
And
expansive.
yeah, well, let me give you an example. It's kind of like, we're living in two separate worlds at the same time. So what do I mean by that? You've got the outer world, right?
Mm.
Which is what we call your conscious mind, which is basically your self-identity, your personality, what you think you can do, what you think you cannot do, what you are aware of, your perception of reality. So what you are aware of, your thought, your emotion, your behavior and your action, right? So that's called the conscious mind, right?
Mm.
And after you've got a mysterious, very secretive, hidden mind. And we're going to call it, for simplification, the subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind is, you don't really know what's going on down there, right?
Mm.
And so what the subconscious mind does, record everything you have been doing in your life, David, from age zero to now. All the skill as a podcaster, as a human being, as a dad, maybe, or whatever, skills are required, are stored in that subconscious mind.
Mm.
And also all the automatic process in your body, like breathing, like your heartbeat, like your digestion, start from your subconscious mind, right? So I started to get intrigued. What's about what it is, what it does, right? What is that subconscious mind? And so I found two things that are really mind blowing. The first things, I wanted to see how powerful it is, and so here it is. Your conscious mind, right, process data at 11 bits per second. Your subconscious mind process data at 11 million bits per second. It's 1 million times faster. So it means what you can process consciously, there's so much more that has been stored subconsciously,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
That's crazy, right?
Right.
Number one. Number two, that's the one that I'm telling you. I joke about that, but that's going to make you redefine, maybe, or make you think about who you truly are. Right?
Yeah.
That's how that information is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so if you get some people standing up, please sit down. If some people sit down, and if you can buckle up, buckle up. Because what I'm going to tell you is going to change, and your perception of who you are truly. So here it is. Your conscious mind, it's only, depends who you are, who you're reading, 5 or 10% of your mind. Meaning the subconscious mind is 90 to 95% of your mind. Meaning that when you want to heal, transform yourself, grow, we focus only on the conscious mind. So it means, in other words, we use only 5 or 10% of our mind power.
Mm.
So I thought to myself, why not bringing the subconscious mind to the party, right? Will be nice.
Yeah. I do
And
get that.
that's what the mind clearing, the technique I created, is about. Because there's one thing I didn't tell you, it's like we are all programmed. You are programmed. I am programmed. Everybody that's listening has been programmed, and
Yeah.
those programs are very important. So what do I mean by that, right? Especially like around age to 0 to 7, we are almost like we are using different brainwave, alpha, theta, and all that. And it's almost like we are in a hypnotic state, right? So we are like sponges, right? So what we see in the outer world, we think it's the way it should be, right? So we assume things, right?
Mm.
And if you assume things again and again, it becomes a program. And those programs are stored in your subconscious mind, meaning you are not totally aware of it, actually, right? And so you basically, David, have two kind of programs. you've got a program that it's kind of like when your mind is working for you and not against you. We call that empowering belief. So that's programs that are serving you, right? And of course, you've got the opposite, right? Program like it's like when your mind is kind of working against you, or we all experience that. Why I'm doing this again and again, and things like that, right? So those are called limiting beliefs, right? And so like those programs are not serving you any longer, right? And since we are talking about programming, right?
Mm.
Let me give you an example to illustrate that. Let's pretend there's a little girl that see her dad that is an alcoholic, drunk every night, and beat up his wife, her mom. What do you think that little girl, what's going to be her journey? What do you think that little girl is going to attract as a romantic relationship down the road?
Mm. I understand it's going to be not a nice relationship.
Exactly. It's going to be an abusive relationship, right? 80 or 90% of the people will agree with us.
Mm.
But now I want to point out two things. If you ask that woman, now she's a woman, if you ask her, oh, by the way, do you enjoy to get beat up like your mom? She's going to say no. So, meaning the conscious mind is going to say no. But the subconscious mind has been programmed as men are predators and women are prey.
Mm.
So now there's another question that comes. How she's going to attract that guy? She's going to say, hey, you come, shake his hand and say, please, can you beat me up? Right? But it's not going to work that way, right? So it's kind of our subconscious mind are connected to each other. See, that's why some people they say we are one, right? It doesn't mean that we have to love everybody, right? No,
Mm.
it means we are connected. And so that's how it goes. So the subconscious mind of that woman's gonna say, look at this guy. He has been bullied and now he's a bully. He's got the predator program. And she's gonna be attracted to him.
Mm.
Right. And the program of the other guy, right? She said, look, she have seen her dad beat up her mom. She thinks that's a normal relationship, right? So she's got the prey program. Perfect. Let's pair up. And they're going to polarity attract, right? And they're going to be attracted, right?
Mm.
And they're going to, like you say in America, it takes two to tango, right? And they're
Yeah.
going to start that dance. And there's three different case scenarios that can happen to that woman. Case scenario number one, she married the guy, get stuck in that abusive relationship for the rest of her life. We all have heard or know relationship like that. Why is she still married with that guy? That's why. Number two, case scenario number two, she got involved with a guy, get tired of get beat up. It's kind of like there's a fire, you put your finger once, you get burned, you put your finger twice, you get burned, you say, oh yeah, I'm done, no more, right? And so usually that's what those women and get another partner and maybe have kids along the way, but look at all the time and suffering, and no guarantee that she will attract ever um, a good relationship for her, right? A positive relationship. And so usually, David, whose woman, they will tell me this. Dr. Salas, don't talk to me about any more men. I'm done with men. They are not good for me, and I'm done, right?
Mm.
So they've got a certain awareness, right? Like the, finger on the fire. But true healing, because we can learn and heal from our life experiences, obviously, right? And so will be that she's going to attract a man that is totally different, that
Mm.
is kind to her, respectful to her, that see her as an equal, right? And that's how you know that she has been healed.
Yeah.
Okay, scenario number three, she can come to see me and we can go to the subconscious mind and reprogram step number one. You delete what you don't want. It's like a program in your computer that you're not happy with, right? It doesn't
Mm.
perform to your standard, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to delete that program. You're going to download a new one and you're going to happy what you see in the screen of life,
Yeah.
basically. So one, you delete what you don't want, you download what you want, and after you want to make sure you create that in your life.
Yeah. And you touch upon that in such a way that I do understand because, people who are in that sort of relationship, if they get, see something in their life, they say that's the norm and that's what's the scary thing. And they will go into the constant loop and it's trying to get out that loop. You know,
Exactly.
you
For example,
you got a computer, for example. You have a problem turning on the computer. What happens? It tries to reboot over and over and over and again, unless you take
well,
it.
yeah, the way I will describe it, let's pretend there's a triangle here,
Yeah.
right? And so you've got a limiting belief at the center of a triangle. On top of that, because you've got limiting belief, what you're going to have? You're going to have negative thought, right?
Mm.
Of course. On the bottom right of the triangle, you're going to have overwhelming emotion. On the bottom left of the triangle, you're going to experience non-desirable behavior and unproductive action, right?
Mm.
Let me give you an example. Let's pretend my dad told me I'm a loser, right? So at the center, that's my limiting belief. So I'm thinking I'm a loser. I'm feeling like a loser. I am behaving like a loser. I'm going to have loser result. Because I've got loser result, that's going to reinforce the feeling that I'm a loser. I feel even more like a loser. And I'm gonna think, man, I knew I was a loser, but such a loser, right? And so that's the loop here, the subconscious, I call that the subconscious stress loop. And all those loops of those programs, they are running behind the scene all the time because we think we make decisions because of this or that that is conscious. No, the subconscious works so much faster that is the one we're making the decision, but those programs that are dictating your present and molding your future in the case of that little girl that become a woman, but in case of everybody, it goes so fast that it will tell you what to do, and you're going to analytically justify that. Oh, it's because of this or that. And that's truly 95%, obviously, right? 95% of our decision making are made this way.
Yeah. So,
So they are controlling us. Whose program, whose limiting belief that I'm serious, they are controlling us. So that's why they make us in a victim mode. That's what created all the things that we don't want in our life and prevent us to be the creator that we
yeah,
are.
yeah. So, obviously, people be wanting to know how can they get in contact with you. Can you tell us how they can get in contact with you? Have you got any websites, emails that you can share with others?
Yeah. There's one more thing I want to add. When you go on Google and you Google limiting belief, you're gonna have examples uh, like self-esteem problem, right? I'm too old to do that. I'm not good enough, blah, 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 which is true, right? But it's only a part of it. Do you think that your mind can create pain in your body?
Mm.
Yeah. So if you got because of negative programming, right? And I
Yeah.
didn't have time to talk about the placebo effect, but that's fine. That's the
Mm.
science is proving that, right?
Yeah.
And so there's basically can create pain, can create symptom and inflammation. That's the body clearing system, right? And now, do you think that your mind can preventing you to reach your goal? Yes, definitely. So that's called the goal and success clearing, right?
Mm.
So you go to my website, it's called the Mind Clearing, right? TheMindClearing.com. You go on contact. And if you want to experience, because we can talk about things forever, but until you experience it, experiencing it is true knowledge. Because now you know if it works for you. So if they mention the Journey podcast, they will have 20% discount of a treatment done by myself. It takes an hour, and whatever they want to correct, and and um, and if they want to learn, because this is designed to empower people to heal themselves. So you don't have to be to have a PhD on nothing, right? On relationship or prosperity on that. You just need to learn how to reprogram, and so you can reprogram and transform and grow yourself, but also help your loved one. So when you help to empower himself or herself, I think that's the holy grail of healing. There's nothing better than that, right? And so if you are a lay people, an individual, you can learn it, but also if you're a coach or a health professional, right, that wants really to go deeper and go towards really the deep rooted cause of a problem and really have the tools to fix that, right? The mind clearing is for you, right?
Yeah.
And so you will get 50% discount if you learn the entire system, which is mind clearing basic, goal and success clearing, and body clearing. So you
Okay.
go to my contact, you got the form, and you talk to me.
And you just mentioned a Journey podcast for a discount, like you said, of 20%.
Exactly.
Okay, I'll make sure that's written in the description. But the last ultimate question is, people, when they're on their journey, always like to find inspiration, always like to find something new, always like to find something that will push them forward to continue on their journey, what would you say to them?
What will I say as an inspiration thing?
Yeah, to them.
Okay.
So,
Or how
say,
to do it.
yeah, so for example, if they starting on their journey now or starting to believe that they got something and they want to hear something positive said to them, what would you say?
Oh, okay. So first of all, for every journey, even if you judges that is really bad, you sick, you may be dying and things like that, there's always hope for you, right? There's always hope because if you find out what's causing your problem and you know how to fix it, it will be fixed. That's it. That's a guarantee. It's what we call a universal law that is called the law of cause and effect. For every cause, there's an effect. For every effect, there's a cause. That's why I don't believe in luck and such a thing, right?
Yeah,
There's no accident, right? And be excited about the adventure, no matter what, if you judge it like um, good or bad or whatever. And I felt like I've been like the Sphinx, rebirthing from the ashes, right? For what I've been going, but I will never trade that for anything else because it changed me, Every journey are about transformation, right? So just go with it, flow with it,
yeah,
right? And try to have some distance, emotionally with it, and be more the observer of your journey, right? And see, okay, this is happening and all that, and are they really my thought? Are they really my feeling? And if you can put some distance, and laugh about your journey, right? If you can laugh about yourself, man, your life will be so much easier, right?
yeah, I agree with that. And on that, I like to say, I will say this is bilingual. I will say thank you for being part of the journey today. And as they say in French, merci beaucoup.
Oh, de rien. Merci beaucoup, David. Au revoir. À bientôt.
Au revoir. Our thanks to our guest there for a wonderful journey. And now a couple of messages to share with you.
Hello, I am Ammie Harrison. I'm the author of the book Feline Warrior Part 1 and Part 2, a fictional story that is written in a poetic format that is based on real-life events that could happen to anyone and intended only for relatable purposes. This story claws into Catgirl's past abuse. Catgirl is human and part feline, but truly a warrior who can handle anything because she is strong and fierce. She has been taken advantage of for far too long. Join her on her journey as she reaches freedom. Here are some poems from Feline Warrior. Tears flow. I no longer know what to do. I am no longer who I once was, and it is because I made a choice to use my voice, and that is okay, because what I had to say was true, unlike me and you. Now I see. I am free. I am me. I am Catgirl. Ultimately, be you. Always stay true. Do what you want to do, because every day is made new. If you want to read more, visit the link in the description. Meow at you later.
Music by Erica R. from Pixar Bay.
By Tim Parsons. The narrator is Kate Barton. Director and producer, Darren Street. Tim Parsons would like to thank family and friends for their support with the paramedic Chris venture. The series is dedicated to the memory of his father, Reverend David Parsons. Copyright Tim Parsons 2020, all rights reserved. Unauthorized use, copying or sharing of this audiobook is strictly prohibited. This has been a Voice Reel studio production for Tim Parsons.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. I've just been listening to the Paramedic Chris children's books on audio again, and I just love it because they've given a tribute in one of them to my dad as well, who passed away a few years ago. I love audio books, and it's great to walk around, and it's great to sit at the computer, if you're out jogging or wherever, to listen to them as well. All four of the Paramedic Chris children's books are available or an audio book from Amazon. Go and take a listen to them. You won't be disappointed. You'll hear what happens when a community pulls together and supports one another. The best thing is to pop over to my website, paramedicchriskidsbooks.org, and you'll see the links on the shop page. Keep safe, everyone, and thank you for being you.
The Journey podcast explores stories of personal growth, challenges, and life-changing moments. Each episode dives into unique experiences, offering insights and inspiration for listeners navigating their own paths. I believe everyone has a story worth sharing. If you'd like to share your journey with David and others, email your story to wisewords1983@reborn.com, and it may be featured in a future episode.